Hello, everyone. My name is John Hoffman. Today, we're going to speak to Piet Oudolf from the Netherlands. We're discussing one of his new plants, Panicum virgatum Purple Tears. I'd like to thank Pete for showing up today and helping us out with this. This is a wonderful opportunity for us. So, Pete, please tell us, how did you find the plant? What is the process in your terms, how you come up with a new plant?
Now, John, we know each other for a long time. We have a garden here in Hummelo in the Netherlands, and I've been a nurseryman for many, many years and always been interested in grasses. For instance, Panicum is one of the species and genuses that we love most of all the grasses and of the North American grasses. And I have a good eye for them, and we of course we grew them, we planted them in the garden, and Panicum Purple Tears came up by occasion. It was just a seedling that popped up and was so different than all the other Panicums that we had. And the only one we had in the front garden of our house was Panicum Shenandoah. So you can imagine Shenandoah red-leafed in the late summer, and this was a sort of green leaf with gray stems. And it had to fall up, and that's how I found it. It's just a changed seedling.
And seedling, very good. Well, that's very exciting. We're thrilled to have it here in America now. What features make the plant stand out over some of the other Panicum cultivars?
Now, yeah, the Panicum, I can show you a picture. I can share my screen for a moment. You can see the Panicum, it's sort of clump forming, sort of rather stiff, but not so stiff that it is like, it hangs over a little bit on the top. And the inflorescence, as you can see, is purple, like little tears, yes. You can see it, especially when there's dew on it. It's really like purple tears. And I think you can see the stems are grayish and the leaves are green. So, and that makes it stand out, that's how I found it, or that's how my eye fell on it.
I see.
And, we left it for a few years to see whether it was still, strong enough to survive among all the other plants. And and after a few years, it became bigger and even more beautiful. Sometimes you see something for the first time and it is looking, good, and then the second year less, and the third year you think, why did I ever pick it out? So in that sense, it's still a winner. You can see the grass which you saw there is there already for 6 years at least.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
So you can see how much it grows. It grows, but not over fast. But of course, I've taken pieces of it. Otherwise, you couldn't have it. It's not that it's not that this is the plant after 7 years. No, this is the plant established 7 years, with sometimes taken off a little piece for people like you. So I think it is great. It's 4 feet tall. It's not too tall.
Okay.
It's not forming. I didn't find seedlings, so it's not seeding like some Panicum.
Well, that's wonderful to hear. That's probably one of the best attributes of that particular.
I cannot promise, of course, but here we didn't find a seedling that looked alike, and not many.
Okay.
While we have in the back of the yard, we have Cloud9 and Panicum virgatum in general, and that seeds around, like they normally do. But this one was sort of modest in its own way.
Okay.
But I love it.
All right. So the Purple Tears is a perfect name for it, it sounds like.
Great name, yeah. And it sounds good too, but it is in fact what it is, Of course, when this, in this stage, which is only a few weeks, it's the sort of glowing inflorescence that you see as purple. Afterwards, it becomes a sort of brownish.
Mm-hmm.
I can show you a picture of Purple Tears just taken half an hour ago, and now it's half December. And
yes, please.
So it still has a value for the garden, you see.
Oh, yes.
Among the Baptisias, it's right up, and it has still didn't lose in value, for the time of the year we are living in.
Oh yeah, wonderful, wonderful shot again. So that brings me, with that image, that brings me to a question of what other perennials. Now, I don't know my perennials at all, and I think a lot of our viewers know that.
Yeah.
So this is where you come in. What perennials and grasses would be great companion plants for Purple Tears?
Purple Tears, I think Amsonia, Baptisia. Those plants are just in seed and they stay over for the winter, so all their characteristics stay. Of course,
Yes.
in another, in a more skeleton way.
Mm-hmm.
But in all the plants like stagis so I can say you can mow Panicum with other grasses. Yeah, in between Sporobolus.
Okay.
Would be nice because Sporobolus is used as a matrix normally, not only one plant, but in masses, and then it stands out in all the plants grasses that you can use in masses. So because it's just not too tall. Also in the middle of what I normally use Panicum in is if I design a garden, perennial garden, I put them in on different distances in a certain balance as a sort of punctuation, that your eye stops when you go over the border. And this grass, especially because it's so nice, and in fact, it is a great grass, but on the other hand, modest.
Yes.
But it has such good looks, and and that's how I use it. So as an individual in between perennials, as little groups in among matrices.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that.
Or on itself in a pot.
Ah, okay. All right.
People on a terrace, they probably don't have much space. So I think it would work there as well.
Well, it's short enough to handle a container situation on someone's patio or deck. You're right. That's true.
And how many people, the more people that have a patio than a garden.
That's nowadays, yes, that's so true.
Yeah.
From the growing side, would you have any advice for growers who are trying to finish a 1 gallon or 3 gallon or so? Is there anything that growers should know about this?
Yeah, I think they probably should buy in, plugs and I think a 4-inch pot to grow them in gallons, or better than I how to do it, but I think you should not grow it from the open ground, but from a plug or from a pot into a bigger pot, I think.
Okay. It does, Panicums usually like well drainage, full sun, of course, and of course this Purple Tears is the same situation, I take it.
Of course, yes.
Of course. Yeah. Okay. Are there other grasses that you're thinking about for the future? We're always, of course, Hoffman Nursery, we're always looking for more new and improved. Are there other Panicum potential cultivars?
Panicum not schizophrenium. Let's say from Cassian Smith in Germany, we got this schizophrenium, tonka. And I think that is, in our opinion, a winner. You can see how it works in the garden. A beautiful grass, and you can plant it everywhere, and you can see that because it lightens up in the backlights, it has it has its own personality in among plants. I wouldn't use it in big, in masses, but I think as an individual, small groups and container plant, this would be a great plant.
I don't know the perennials behind it, but it looks like they are certainly darker and helping highlight the stems of.
You can see it. Let's say it looks at its best so high summer and early fall, and you can see most of the oregana and the stagis and the veronica, baptisia and even the echinaceas. You can see here the echinaceas are, in seed.
Yes.
So it performs still in the winter. Our winters are, of course, not too bad, but it looks good till, I think, a year round. You can almost say.
Yes. Okay. That's
a slow start, but now we have the other grass that is, this Millennia, which I think is a new grass. I think you have it already. You can see this Millennia here, that is crystal veil.
Oh, yes.
It's one of our new grasses that we gave to you to see if you could find a client for it. But you can see it's much finer than transparent.
I see.
Refined. If you can see it when you put them next to each other, but I think it's a beautiful habit. Even in the rain, it doesn't hang over too much, so you don't get wet. Some people think it's a problem to get wet, but you see it's so fine that we called it crystal veil, like a sort of, especially like all grasses, when the dew or rain is hanging in it, it creates this extra emotion. Huh?
Yes. And again, a specimen for the garden. I don't see mass planting with this. I see pockets throughout the garden.
Yeah, pockets, small groups, individuals.
Yes.
And also containers, balcony, yeah, containers, but you need a big container. So it's not maybe for a household or a small apartment, but for maybe businesses or
Okay, of course.
offices. But also in smaller terraces and gardens as an individual. I think most grasses have more than one purpose, you know, one more than you can use it in so many different situations. And that is the great thing of grasses.
Yes, of course. Of course. Well, they add so much, as you know, as we all know, to the garden space. So,
yeah. One more thing, you know, and you see the transparency of this millennials and you know, the other thing is you can see the other plants through it. You can put it in the front,
of course,
and you can see the other plants. So it's not a plant for the background; it's a plant for the foreground.
Yes. Oh, yeah, it's gorgeous.
Dark beauty. You probably know that's the darker one. Also, Millenia we shared with you. So it's hard to find things that are different. You know that yourself. We need, and
yes,
the only way you can find new things is to have an eye for things that you've known already.
That's so true.
Yeah, you need to know so many plants to see whether something is new or not.
Yes.
And that's why our business is filled with a lot of plants that look the same, are similar than other plants.
Well, that's right. And with Purple Tears, it sounds like we've been looking for the red-leafed Panicum for so many years and have enjoyed Shenandoah and many others that have come out. For you to pick up on Purple Tears, again, a green, sort of gray-green leaf with the purple seed heads. It's so different than what's out there these days.
Yeah, you must have seen it yourself in the tests that it is different. Otherwise, you wouldn't start with it.
True. That's true. Exactly right.
You must see the quality, otherwise it makes no sense to do it. Then we can keep it among ourselves.
But of course, that's right. But of course.
But I'm glad that we could do this together, John, and with your company, and that we can share it with other friends in America and people that gardens. So I'm very glad to have met you.
Many years ago.
Many years ago. Yeah, it's a long time ago, and but we never did something like this. This is only from the recent years that we
true.
And shared some plants. But it's nice to know you and all the people around you. We worked on such nice projects, you know, Delaware Botanical Garden, Detroit. We worked on that garden as well, and yeah, and of course we worked in Chicago. Yeah, so it's good to know each other.
Well, we appreciate your time, Pete. It's a wonderful opportunity for us and the nursery to have the conversation, to discuss Purple Tears and others that you've got coming down the line for us. So again, thank you again for this, and we will continue to stay in touch. All right.
We do. We do. Okay. Bye, John.
John, here's a couple of questions. The question was, what is the approximate bloom time in the Northeast for Purple Tears?
First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming and showing up here. It was a great opportunity to talk to Pete. I was able to talk to him back in December. I did contact him last night. I will tell you this, to ask him to join us for today, this particular session here, but he had a conflict. He had another webinar going on. So you have seen Pete, his appearance has happened. So now it's David and I. So anyway, I think the Purple Tears up north in the Northeast, they should bloom at the same time as the other virgatums. I think it's probably a mid to late summer from that point on. As mainly again down here in the southeast and throughout most of the country, it's sort of the time frame for blooms to start happening will be anywhere from late June on into August, depending on where you are in the country. So. And again, it's a good height, as you heard from Pete. We like the colors of this. We haven't seen anything out there with the purple seed heads in the past, so that's why this particular plant sticks out. And we were able to, we enjoyed it, and we decided to move on it. So.
As far as description of the plants, I know that Pete went over it a little bit in the video. What else would you say would be the best features of the plant?
Well, it's compact. We know it's in the 4-foot range with plume. We like the compactness of this. It seems to be not completely erect, but I think there is enough there that you won't have any flopping in the garden. So I think it's a good solid plant. It's something we're looking forward to watching it more and more and get it out into the landscapes around the country. So,
you mentioned flopping. Would you say that it would hold up to a light snow?
I think it could do a light snow. Yes, I think it would certainly do a light snow. We haven't seen a light snow down here for a while, so I'm sure some of the folks up north could speak of that more than I could. But again, have not seen anything recently.
Yeah. We've also got a question, guys, about, and I'll try to field some of these. I'm going to stick with Panicum for now, and then we'll talk about some millennia as well, because we've got some questions about both.
Okay.
Some folks are wondering, is Purple Tears resistant to rust? And not sure we know that yet, but David or John, any thoughts on that?
I would say that it can get some rust. It's certainly not resistant. We have seen that it will get some rust, and that's something that we here will do preventative rust beginning in August, sprays for fungicides to be able to try to help prevent anything like that from getting to the end customer.
I would like to add that this year, 2020, was the third wettest year in the recording history. So I did wander the trial gardens. Purple Tears did get rust, but so did everything else. When you have that kind of weather and that kind of moisture throughout the year, I think a lot of things will get rust. Of course, our liners, of course, we're taking good care of. And I take it as when the growers bring them in, of course, they will do their best to keep the rust down. But once it hits the landscape, and it's on the drier side, they should be fine. So I think you'll see hints of rust on occasion. But again, with us having the wettest year ever, well, third wettest year ever, then it can happen. So it's unfortunate, but it does happen. So.
Great. Thanks, John. Let me jump to the millennials. Have we heard from retailers who have had success selling millennials? It's a hard sell for them.
Well, I personally have fallen in love with millennials over the past few years. I've watched them in the north. They will grow in the south and North Carolina, but they need extra moisture in the soil, and they seem to do well here. They get some fall color, but I've seen them growing up in Ohio and some of the different arboreta up there, and they have been outstanding. And that's probably the main reason I fell in love with them years ago. So I think they just need more marketing, more airtime. Again, some of the larger ones are, as Pete pointed out, would be specimen items, small clumps, small masses, specimen items, individuals in the garden. And then some of the shorter ones, the ceruleas, they would be mass plantings. You could certainly put those on 2-foot centers, but I think we have to, if a garden center could highlight these possibly in a trial garden or in a display garden at their center. I don't know if that's possible. Of course, any sort of literature that can go with this plant would certainly help. But images are always good. But it's definitely a northern tier plant with it certainly sneaking down into North Carolina because of me. So that's going to happen, and because I again just fall in love with the plants.
Someone has asked about the popularity of Purple Tears compared to other Panicum. It's a new one for us, but what do you guys think?
Well, again, it's going to take some airtime, some marketing. I think people are trying this plant. I think up and down the Eastern Seaboard, out to the Midwest. We're selling it. It's making it to certain parts of our country. Pete is actually, his projects are going on in the United States. We're sending this particular plant to some of his projects. So yeah, I think it always takes time. You know, it always takes time for a plant to build popularity. Of course, it does help with Pete's name on it. So, and we're certainly banking on that a bit. But I think it's leaving us. It's getting into the landscapes around the United States. So we're pleased with the progress. Now, I don't know if anybody's mentioned or asked about the schizophrenium tonka that was discovered a few years ago and grown out, named over in Europe. But what I really like about that plant is just the hairy stems. If I don't know if you've got that shot, and it can be zoomed in on, but
I sure do.
As you can see, it's glowing in the landscape. And I think a lot of that has to do, if you really can zoom in on that, there's some little hairs that are up and down the stem. And that's quite different than from what we've seen with a lot of the other schizas that we've been dealing with over the years. So this is going to be an exciting one. We don't have very many. We're not selling it yet. We're building numbers. So start asking, put your name on them. But I think it's probably probably even an early 22 plant. So I'm sorry, but that's kind of how it works. So you got to build numbers. So.
Yep. Great. Another question. Is there a trick to keeping tonka erect in the garden? And what's its cold hardiness?
Well, it was discovered in Oklahoma. That's a question, Shannon. I'm trying to remember where that came from.
I think so. I forgot.
I think it's Oklahoma. Yeah.
Yeah, I should know that off the top of my head.
Yes.
I think generally it's going to be the typical around zones 3 to 8. It's a little blue stem.
Wide range. So.
Yeah, we think it's also, sorry, if I'm going to talk, I should put myself in. We think it's probably too one of the subspecies of Schizophrenium scoparium, which we're looking into and talking with Pete and the folks in Europe about. So it is distinctive. I don't think there's anything else like it on the market yet. So we're pretty excited about it.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
For sure. Yep. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate having you here. And we hope to see you in 2021. So, John, anything else to add?
Again, thanks everybody. It was great having you all join us for Pete's talk and all the other additional conversations we can have here. So thank you. And again, hopefully we can see you later this year.
Okay, great. Thanks everyone. And we'll say goodbye.
Bye-bye now.